Hi, I'm Katya Soldak. I'm a journalist and the director of the documentary film The Lone Breakup. I'm also the host of the podcast series From Socialism to Capitalism that you are listening to and watching right now. To commemorate 30 years since the Soviet Union ceased to exist, I'm having a series of conversations with people who experienced life during those years and during the transition from socialism to capitalism. These entrepreneurs, cultural figures and business people lived and worked in countries of the former Soviet bloc during those unique times when the Cold War ended and the Iron Curtain was lifted. What was it like during those wild years as these countries previously controlled by communist governments went through such a giant change? Well, you will find out from these amazing stories told by people who were there, living through those times and living through it all. Our guest today is Max Pokrovsky, the leader of a popular Russian rock band Nogu Svelo.
Люди больше не услышат голоса.
Max, we're going to be talking about the times when the Soviet Union was falling apart and was transitioning to something new. And you lived in those times. So I'm very happy to have you here with us, and I would like to talk about everything. But first and foremost, we would like to introduce you to people who might be watching this, because not everybody is familiar with the former Soviet Union and music in Russia. So tell us about yourself.
My name is, like in my certificate, Maxim Sergeyevich Pokrovsky, which is just Max. I'm Max. My last name is Pokrovsky. It's complicated, but it's still my last name. I love it. Sergeyevich means Sergey. My dad's name is Sergey. So I am 52 years old, and I'm a leader, songwriter, and lead singer and bass guitar player for the band named Nogu Svelo. We exist like more than 33 years. We are getting ready for the release for 12th or 13th album.
Люди никогда не вспомнят наши тонкие, смешные имена. Теперь их помнит только тишина.
Max Pokrovsky, although a hugely popular musician and singer in Russia, now lives in New York City.
We've never been happy within the last, 5 or 10 or even more years with what was going on in Russia. But anyway, which we are talking about very, very loudly now.
As we talk about the collapse of the communist regime 30 years ago and the fact that the Cold War ended so long ago, it is impossible not to mention how tough the political climate in Russia is right now. Unfortunately, today's Russia resembles the USSR in many ways. But these days, unlike in the Soviet years, the music industry is generally a thriving business, not a political propaganda tool for controlling the masses. But in recent years, ideology has begun to wiggle its way back into the entertainment industry. For instance, for his open support of Alexei Navalny, a Russian opposition leader who has been targeted by the Kremlin and was poisoned and then imprisoned, Pokrovsky and his band experienced retaliation from the powers that be. A series of concerts in Siberia planned for this past spring were cancelled by the order of the government.
I'm still a musician. I'm still pursuing some, dreams even here in the States. The United States make themselves available for those who seek, who aspire something.
About 70 years ago in the Soviet Union, the economy, culture, healthcare, industry, pretty much everything was controlled by the state. The Kremlin financed, planned, developed every aspect of life and business. Control, control, control. During the Cold War, Soviet officials censored foreign music, literature, and art. The government banned any music that didn't pass censorship standards, calling it decadent and culturally corruptive. While the entire world was listening to jazz, rock and roll, disco, and pop, Soviet TV and radio played either nationalistic patriotic songs or Soviet pop songs from a genre called estrada, which was heavily censored.
Малиновки заслыша голосок, припомню я забытые свидания.
Going back to the USSR, it's important. There was a certain government-controlled organization that was called Roskoncert or Moskoncert, whatever, Russian concept. Mm-hmm. There were bands. They were called like popular style. The band is called VIA, Vocal Instrumental Ensemble. They had job. That was absolutely official. So like opera singers or whatever musicians, like classic musicians. You got your salary, and big artists could have been and were a kind of, I'm not saying wealthy, I don't even know, but they were not rock or, like real pop musicians. They were like official. We don't even have this word estrada.
In order to get access to foreign music, people lucky enough to travel to other countries made illegal copies of record or tapes they smuggled back home with them. Often illegal copies were made on X-ray materials.
You just didn't have any chance to get it. I mean, you did have a chance, but you need to put some, effort. There was no music on the radio.
When did it start being better?
Late 80s.
Even in the 1980s, music and lyrics still needed to get the Soviet Communist Party's stamp of approval, and it was illegal to videotape rock concerts, which the party thought might allow the music to spread the virus of freedom. Government officials would even stop concerts if they wanted to, or shut off the power at a musical venue. During the last decades of Soviet rule, musicians played kvartirniki, or house concerts. These were underground acoustic concerts performed in private apartments.
Лишь потом кто-то долго не сможет забыть, как, шатаясь, бойцы об траву вытирали мечи.
The Kremlin saw kvartirniks as a form of entrepreneurial activity which was a threat to the government-controlled music industry. So these secret shows were made illegal and sometimes were raided by Soviet militia. In the 1980s, Max and his band Nogu Svelo were accepted into an official rock club. Back then, rock clubs and rock laboratories were created by the Soviet government and the KGB to try to control unauthorized concerts. To be accepted, bands had to audition and their lyrics had to be approved by KGB agents.
Let's say when they allowed rock music to exist, they allowed to establish certain, let's say, organizations, like actually a rock club. So we all know three major ones: Petersky, which is Leningrad, Saint Petersburg. Of course, Sverdlovsk, which is Yekaterinburg now, and of course Moscow. But Moscow was the name of this organization. It's never been rock club. So cool. So I'm a biggest fan. Rock Laboratory. But the long and official name, and when I tell you, you will definitely understand why I'm telling you, and that's the answer to your question. The Moscow City Laboratory of Rock Music, attached to Moscow City Committee of Комсомол. Московская городская творческая лаборатория рок-музыки при МГК в ЛКСМ.
Moscow City Creative Rock Music Laboratory affiliated with the Komsomol organization in Moscow.
Комсомол organization or committee, or how they call committee, whatever. Yes.
In the 80s, rock music in the Soviet Union was not simply music. It was an agent of disruption. On one hand, it responded to the loosening of the grip of the Communist Party. On the other hand, rock and roll directly helped fuel cultural transformation and brought freedom to the people. Max's music was no exception. When the Soviet Union dissolved, Max and his band achieved popularity almost immediately. You see, after the Soviet Union collapsed, people entered an era of chaos and uncertainty almost overnight. When Max and his bands reached mainstream success, one of his songs, titled Haru Mamburu, a wild, out-of-this-world example of gibberish set to music, really resonated with people during the early 1990s.
Remember, 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 remember,
As for us and our band, I mean, of course, the video and Haru Mamburu video was extremely important. But to me, the main thing, the society was ready to hear such a song. There was no certainty in our society. At some point, it appeared like people started to be open to crazy things, to, you know, it finished pretty quickly. Like 5 years after that, show business started to be like pretend, oh, we're showbiz, we know how to do what to do. All radio stations, all the directors are like, whoa. But this time, that was crazy time for crazy people. And we would never succeed if we had appeared 3 years before or 3 years after, let's say. I mean, our time, we were crazy, but we were smart enough not to ruin everything, like, you know, immediately. When the USSR fell apart, they started to make money. It's free economy. So mostly, and then mostly, who is a good businessman? They started to make money. For us, starting from 1993, 1994, clubs.
So you could play really concerts and earn money.
Yes. We started to make money. Bigger artists that time, they just they started to make concert halls, stadiums, and that was business with all gang stuff around it.
Yeah, I can imagine those were difficult times. Well, it sounds pretty amazing because you got a taste of the both worlds, but you mostly succeeded in this new world where you could actually be entrepreneurial and make money and play your music and grow creatively. Now, when you live in the States, you still play in Russia, correct? You go to Russia.
Yes, I'm a Russian-speaking artist.
Do you think artists in Russia or musicians in Russia right now have creative freedom to express themselves and do what they want if they want to be big?
Of course. I mean, it depends on them. I mean, they all copy, let's say, hip hop guys. They mostly copy Western music. I'm not saying it's bad or not, but it's still freedom. It's freedom of their choice. But I also know very, very talented, some very, very talented artists that who are trying not to be like somebody else. Yeah. I mean, but speaking about your choice, political things, everyone.
So let's say you're publicly critical of the regime. Is it going to backfire in any way for you or for a musician who is critical of the Kremlin?
Of course, yes.
After a few chaotic years of total freedom and creativity, music in Russia gradually developed into real show business and became a strong and profitable industry.
Люди добрые, сами мы не местные, голодаем и скитаемся.
You recorded a couple of videos, you're releasing some new videos, video blogs. Just give me a quick announcement about what's happening before we finish our talk.
All right, thank you so much for this opportunity. The main thing is YouTube channel Nogu Svelo, NOGU space SVELO exclamation point. Also, there is another channel, we just started it a couple days ago, Max Pokrovsky. We have just 1,000 subscribers now. We just started. I will be travel channel, our experiences, maybe like everything about life.
Thank you for listening to our conversation with Max Pokrovsky, frontman of the Moscow-based rock band Nogu Svelo, YouTube vlogger, traveler, and activist. I'm Katya Soldak. Join us next time. We have many more stories to tell.